We'll be recording this bad boy. Welcome to FantasyInsiders.com. This is Insiders TV. I'm your host, David Kitchen. Joining me, the one, the only, Mr. Tuttle. Or as some people like to call you, Mr. Turtle. Can you talk? No? Are you shy? You're shy.
I'm a little shy.
You're shy.
I can see. I shared the video clip with Nap as well as Love Spaces, so they know the turtle reference.
Okay. Well, I want to show everybody else the turtle reference. Here we go.
Check it. Yo, we showing you the dopest. Inside the show, we know it's sick. The dopest site on the net. Yeah, this is it. Daily fantasy sports, just to make it short. Soaker Dave and Mr. Turtle 05. The co-host, that's right. Enjoy the show, the dopest. You already know any questions in the chat box. We will mention where it's real high. So if you want to go and get it on, log on to FantasyInsiders.com.
Oh man, do you think people realize what they just missed out on? If they do realize it, hopefully they'll come back. We'll get this video uploaded for people to see. I want to talk though about something very near to my heart. We'll save the WNBA talk for later on. But it's something that I brought up last night after I saw the stuff about the playoffs. And I guess one team beat another to win. Do you know who won last night?
For what?
The WNBA championship.
I have
Who
no
won?
freaking clue.
I don't know. I think it was the Sparks. But I'm not sure.
What city are they from? I don't even know.
Sparks are Los Angeles, right?
Oh, they had
All I
Lisa
know is-
Leslie on their team.
All I know is that Candace Parker was she was the MVP of the season, and I know that just because she was a Tennessee girl, so I know her from the TENNESSE. Anyways, we actually have audio and video, which is pretty cool. So that allows us to do this little show. We'll start off with recapping what happened last night. You had a pretty epic sweat, did you not?
Yeah, last night was.
Uh,
Sunday night was more epic in my opinion. Epically disappointing.
I don't know. Last night was, well, Sunday night was epic in the fact that you were playing catch-up. Last night, you were playing basically hold everybody off. Right?
Yeah, I was. Bird Wings was up there trying to make a comeback at me, and he.
Why don't you just
almost
walk out,
succeeded.
just kind of rewind the tape and tell people about what happened on Draft Street and Star Street. For those of you that do not know, which doesn't look like anybody right now in the chat, but Mr. Tuttle, a.k.a. Dan, won the Star Street PFFC qualifier ticket last night, and he came pretty close to winning the Draft Street ticket also, but there was a player that kind of let you down. Kind of rewind it back to Sunday.
Yeah, Sunday night I entered the Pittsburgh-Chicago game with a lot of players to go, but then, and it started out really well. I had Antonio Brown, Ben Roethlisberger, Matt Forte, and they all had a heck of a first half. And I think it came down to I needed like 25 points in the second half to put me in the lead of the 420 qualifier in Draft Street. And so I was feeling fairly confident in that, especially with the first halves that they had. I needed Forte to also score 8 at least 8 points. So I couldn't just get 25 points from Roethlisberger and Antonio Brown. I needed 8 points at least from Forte. Let's just say Forte disappointed, and I think I ended up losing by like 6 points.
You did. You did end up losing by 6 points, and we can pull it up. Actually, it's the $22 qualifier. But we can
Let's
pull up the
just
Star
not
Street qualifier.
rehash bad memories.
Well, I just wanted to kind of show people I mean, it was a pretty studly lineup. You went with the combo of Locker and Roethlisberger pretty much everywhere. Is that just like I mean, to me, that's just a classic Mr. Tuttle play. Why those two quarterbacks? I think everybody wants to know.
Well, I was on Kaepernick literally all week. I thought he was the absolute play of the week. I thought he was going to just tear up the Indianapolis Colts' horrible rush defense. I thought he was going to rush at least 100 yards, get a TD, and then anything he threw through the air was going to be kind of just an added bonus. And we all know how that turned out.
Not good.
So, like an hour literally before the games kicked off, I think you and I were talking, and you had mentioned Locker one more time. It was someone I was considering at one point throughout the week. You mentioned it one more time. I kind of went through my FanDuel lineup and tweaked some things and liked what I could get in there if I went Locker. So I decided to take off Cap and did it across all the sites, and it ended up being a good switch out.
That is putting it mildly. You went with Locker, Roethlisberger, Forte, Gore, Calvin Johnson, AJ Green, Brandon Myers, who didn't really do anything, Miles Austin, that didn't really do anything, but Antonio freaking Brown. He was the absolute man. Sunday night when he was catching all those passes, you were going pretty nuts. I mean, that was the ultimate combination for this week, the Roethlisberger to Antonio Brown connection.
Yeah, I was pretty excited about all the Brown action. That's an interesting statement, but I'll go with it. I love Brown action.
Yes, you do.
But anyways, I was joking around come Monday night that I was going to lose the Star Street by 1. Just because Roethlisberger's last play was an interception, which was for his fourth turnover of the night. And so I figured it was just going to kind of end up that way where I'd lose by 1, and it'd be because of the last offensive play by Roethlisberger.
Yeah. And then that Forte, I mean, in the second half, they basically were just pounding the rock right up the middle, not doing anything creative at all.
No, it was really frustrating. I think he got one outside carry and he got stuffed on that too.
Yeah, he got one catch in the second half, but you thought that it was like you had a pretty good chance because he was rolling in the first half, and then they just went vanilla in the second half. It was really annoying.
Well, Forte's the kind of guy that will get it done because all you need is receptions. I mean, give me the receptions. Who cares about the yards? As long as you throw the ball, we're going to rack up some points.
I hear you. For those that are just now tuning in, all 3 of you, you are watching Fantasy Insiders TV. I really want people to hear this rap, but maybe we can save it towards the end. And that they can just go back and watch everything from the beginning. What do you think?
Maybe we'll randomly get 2 extra viewers towards the end of the show.
Yeah. I mean, we have 9. I have to feel like we're going to get double digits here soon. If everyone in the chat gets 10 people, then we would have 90 people. So get on it. Loves Basis, DP, Leonum, all you guys. I mean, this is like the exclusive club. We should be charging. Actually, no, they should be charging us if we're going to be honest. But we are going to talk about some things related to the WNBA later on. I feel like the Thunder was stolen a little bit, but that's okay. We can roll with it. So before we get into that, though, you saw my post about the FanDuel values, correct?
I'm sorry, I'm just laughing at Love's Base's comments. He's gonna call me Turtle from now on, and it's just gonna make me laugh every time.
Oh gosh, bless his heart. He said he doesn't have. No, that's Leonum. He said he didn't have any friends, and then Love said that he doesn't even know 10 people.
Hey, we got 10 online.
Hey,
who cares
party!
if it counts
You know what
Turtle
that
and
means?
Soaker Dave?
That means that we need to play the rap. We have got to play the rap.
All right, time for the rap.
Check it. Yo, we showing you the dopest. Inside the show, we know it's sick. The dopest site on the net. Yeah, this is it. Daily fantasy sports, just to make it short. Soaker Dave and Mr. Turtle 05. The co-host, that's right. Enjoy the show, the dopest. You already know any questions in the chat box, we will mention where it's real high. So if you want to go and get it on, log on to fantasyinsiders.com.
All right. So that's the rap. The rapper did pronounce my name Soaker Dave and Mr. Turtle, but that's okay. You get what you pay for, and we didn't exactly pay a whole lot. I mean, we paid a guy on the corner of the street to record this, so we gave back to society. DP, you know me too well. Oh man.
Play your. I want you to play your electronic clip with pushy move your tushy.
Oh yeah, I don't think it's going to work out because the
DP is just bringing it right now.
Oh man. Anyways, the clip wasn't the right format, so we're going to have to get on our main man for not converting it the right format. However, this is in the right format right here.
I'm bored.
Me too.
Hey guys. Whoa! It's WNBA superstar Diana Taurasi! Check this out.
WNBA Live 2008, the only game that captures the excitement of women's basketball. Packed with tons of high-flying action. And featuring true-to-life injuries. So if you want to see a lot of layups, jump shots, passing, and layups, then get WNBA Live 2008.
Oh man, never gets old. The WNBA just recapped their season, or just ended their season last night. Again, somebody beat somebody. I don't even know. But as daily fantasy players, we don't care about the playoffs, especially like when there's just the finals and you only have one. You just have one team or two teams that you can play from, and that's just betting. You can't really play daily fantasy. However, the WNBA takes place this summer. You're telling me that if you're not a baseball player in the middle of the summer, while there's nothing to do, you wouldn't even consider playing daily WNBA if it was hosted on like a top 5 site?
Well, first of all, I think you have to get your facts straight here.
What's that?
It looks like Love's Basis has corrected you. The WNBA season is not over.
It's not?
There's actually 2 games coming up on Thursday.
What?
So I think we should get some sort of like exclusive pool going.
Yes.
With like the 2 people that we have in our chat here. We can get some scoring system going.
We're up
like,
to 11.
Snake draft.
Yes.
I don't know who wants to set the We could set some salaries if we want. I don't know who would do that though.
Yeah. I don't know who would set who would set salaries either. However, when you're playing daily NBA, I mean, I love daily NBA. It's my favorite. It's a lot of people's favorites just because there's a lot of predictability when it comes to it. You don't have that random home run or touchdown, and there's I don't know. You know why you like the, the NBA, and it's not like when you watch games, it's not like you are watching the game just because of like the dunks. You're like, do you care if you're playing the W and or if you're playing daily NBA? Do you care if it's a layup or a dunk, or that you just got 2 points?
2 points.
Right. So that's my point. I don't think that it's for everybody, but I did an informal Twitter poll, and let me pull that up. There were a few people that did not follow directions, but that's okay. Oh man, Griner would be racking up those blocks. It wouldn't even be fair. So this informal Twitter poll will go to see. I said, would you play daily WNBA in July or August? For yes, favorite. No, I'm sorry, you can't see it because it's zoomed in. Bam. Favorite for no, and then retweet for yes. And we had 6 retweets plus 2 more that didn't follow directions. I'm looking at you, Empire Maker, and View from Top. And then 11 that said they wouldn't. So that's 8 out of 19. Did you reply to this, Dan?
Yeah, I voted that I wouldn't play.
Okay. So we need somebody in chat to kind of give us an even 20 so we know. Because right now we're sitting at 40%, even if someone says no. So if you just got a third of the daily fantasy community playing WNBA, would that not be good for the WNBA?
Oh, their viewership would skyrocket.
Yes, it would like double just from the daily fantasy NBA people. You would also get the female crowd involved. It might be the rough type of female crowd, but you're still getting them in there. The only downside is that there's going to be some in-depth research, and you're going to start trying to get that inside scoop on, monthly stuff. You know what I'm saying?
It'll all be at the same time though, because the teams will adapt with each other. At least that's my understanding of the cycle.
Is that a fact though? I don't think that's right. I don't.
Dude, Google it right now. It is
No,
a fact.
I will not be Googling. I will not be Googling anything like that. We're losing viewers by the minute. That is okay. But no, it's not going to be something that a lot of people play. However, I think one site needs to come up with it. Needs to come up just to see what it's going to do. I think the biggest drawback would be the stats providers. Like, are there any major stats providers for the WNBA?
Beats me. I mean the way. Gosh, DP is just bringing it. All right, but anyways, the way that I'm looking at playing WNBA, it's like it takes degeneracy to the next level. It's like if I'm gonna go to a casino, I'm gonna go have fun with a couple of friends. If it gets to the point where I'm going by myself, it becomes a problem. That's what WNBA is for daily fantasy. It's like if you're playing all this major sports and you're having fun doing it, that's cool.
Are you saying
but then once you go to
CJ
WNBA,
Stetzer
it's
has a
just
problem?
a new level. What's that?
Are you saying that CJ Stetzer has a problem?
He's an entertaining follow on Twitter.
He is.
That's
Between, I don't know who's more entertaining, Him or Young Kaiser? Young Kaiser is my boy, but he has some entertaining stuff. He said,
Setting the pace.
yeah, he said that someone had to keep on paste for like 200 points or something like that. I don't know what it was. He's always a good follow. Talks about the Big Mac stuff. Anyways, we'll get away from the WNBA discussion. I thought it was interesting though, for sure.
It is, and I think Phil brings up a good point here, and it just reiterates what I'm saying as far as it being pure degeneracy if you decide to play daily NBA. It's in his experience, it's like betting on Asian tennis at 2 a.m. in the morning just to get your gamble fix.
Is it so? So that's bad.
I don't know. I guess that's who. It depends on who you are. For me, that would probably be a bad thing.
Yes, I think it would be bad for a lot of people. All right, let's get on with the baseball stuff. People that are going to be tuning in today for baseball plays. You got about 37 minutes to get your stuff straight. And let's see if this movie will play. We'll just do a little screen cap. But it's not going to work.
Unbelievable.
We'll get it. We'll get it. I promise. We'll get it. Oh, but you're not going to be able to hear the audio. Dang it. Well, maybe you will. Hold on. Could you hear that audio, Dan?
I can hear it.
Okay. Well, maybe they could hear it too. Or maybe not. Anyways, we've got a Tuttle clip that eventually will get out on there. Okay, we can't hear it. Well, basically he said, pushy, pushy, move your tushy. Anyways, Tuttle, why don't you go ahead and tell us some of your plays for tonight?
Well, that's generic.
Okay, sorry.
Thanks for narrowing it down for me.
Sorry. Would you tell us who your top pitchers for tonight are?
Top pitchers. Yeah, I mean it's a night to lay chalk as far as pitching goes. We looked at least I looked at when I was compiling a list. I looked at DraftKings pricings just because they have the high heat going tonight. Number one starting pitcher is kind of obvious. You looked at all. That would be Yu Darvish as he faces the Astros. Obviously, K a ton. I don't want to really keep going down a list that's purely chalk. I think someone I have rated higher than most people would be Matt Cain. I have him as my third favorite starting pitcher for the night, and that was before a Dodgers lineup came out. I don't know if we have one yet. It does not look like it at this point. But a lot of Cain's value will be dependent on, what the Dodgers run out there. I still think if they run a normal lineup, he's got decent value, and Vegas likes him as a favorite today. But if they run out a stinker of a lineup, his value obviously increases quite a bit.
Did you just say a stinker of a lineup?
I did.
You can tell that we're a PG show, family friendly. So invite all your friends and your family, because we're going to need more than 10 people. 8 people if you count me and Tuttle. I'm actually going to log in on different browsers so it looks like we have way more people. Like open up 1,000 browsers. Maybe that can be a project. We'll get people just to come in. Anyways, we'll see. We'll see what those games tonight have in store. You have your stacks for tonight, and I'd like to present a fun little graphic.
Bored.
Me too.
No, this is it right here. You see that? You can't see it, can you, Dan?
No, there we go. I can see it.
Okay. This is Mr. Tuttle's top 5 stacks. Why don't you take us through it, Dan?
Wow, I like the. I haven't even seen this graphic. I like it. Looks
I
very
tried to
nice.
show it to you. You said you couldn't open it.
No, I like the chalkboard and everything. It's pretty nice.
Okay, so you like Boston, you like the Rangers, you like the Tigers. So those are pretty much top 3 stacks. I mean, those guys are always in play for stacks, correct?
Yeah, they always are. When you add the Coors element, that obviously boosts Boston up a bit.
Yeah.
When they're going against right-handed pitcher, that boosts Boston up a bit as well. Nava hits significantly better as a left-handed batter. Saltamalacchia is also a lot better against a right-handed pitcher.
What's his name?
Saltalamacchia.
Okay, Saltalamacchia. Gotcha.
Yeah. So anytime they face a right-handed pitcher, you're looking pretty good. And once you add the Coors element in there, it helps quite a bit. Rangers versus Peacocks, obvious. Tigers, obvious. Oakland's also pretty. I mean, it's pretty obvious tonight.
Okay.
You don't need to be a so-called expert to kind of know what to do tonight. You're gonna go with those plays. Take batters from those teams.
Okay, I'm just going to ask, have you been drinking?
A little bit,
Okay.
as you can tell by my stutter.
You're lying because you're stuttering and you're ticking me off. Ticking me off. Inbox, which one of these 5 teams is he going to stack tonight? Because he stacks one team, even in head-to-heads, and he has been crushing it. He had 2 bad nights last week. I don't want to do a sob story, but I had 215 against him, and I was beating him until like the last 2 innings when he stacked the Mariners, and Ibanez hit a 9th inning home run to beat me by 1. But he stacks one team in a head-to-head on DraftKings. How is that smart?
It's not, but let's take a commercial break here and go to the Twitter or the tweet of the day regarding inbox from last night.
Okay.
This one is from STL Cards 84. It says that mother of pearl user inbox has me infuriated. Stacks and head-to-heads every night. Last time we played, he had Oakland go off for 17. Now Texas. That was just an absolutely epic tweet. I think Naps is the one who pointed that tweet out to me. It was.
I definitely saw it right when he posted it, and I linked to him the bad beat that I had on Saturday night because I thought that it was in the bag, and then such is life. But I mean, he stacked the Mariners against me, and then like 2 decent pitchers. But I just don't understand. I don't understand.
DP is gonna get us in trouble.
I know he's crushing it. I don't even want to. I don't even want to mention what he's saying in the chat. We need to get Dan on the show, and the way that we have this set up with what we're using is that we can easily bring him in just via audio. We don't even have to have, a camera on him. We just do audio. We could do a little picture with a paper bag over his face. It would be great. But yeah, STL is our boy. But you understand kind of where he's coming from, right?
Well, I mean, it's the same concept if you're playing. I mean, there's a guy that we play, or that I have played, and I know Loves Basis has played on FanDuel.
DJ Patel?
Yeah, his username is DJ Patel. And he'll throw a lineup together, and he literally looks for the most expensive guy he can find that's on the DL, and he'll play him. Like Carlos Gonzalez was one of the examples. And he'll put a decent lineup together randomly, and you'll have players like these guys that will beat you, and it's infuriating. I mean, it's kind of the same thing that Mother of Pearl Inbox has done to STL Cards. He's playing with a horrible strategy for head-to-head matchups, and when it works, it pisses you off a little bit.
He has been on fire, though. Him and Dirty Girl have been absolutely on fire. But you just have to feel like if you're just playing one team, even if they have a good matchup, and even if it's on DraftKings, where right now their salaries, I mean, they do this right here, but right now their salaries are where you can basically play whatever team you want and whatever pitchers you want. I guess that would benefit them more than playing on a draft street where everything is so tight, or and you can't stack there. But even like on a star street,
Well,
I
do
have
you
to.
think it's a strategy thing, or is it just like a time thing? He like has 5 minutes to put a lineup together. Hey, looks like this team's good to go for tonight. Let's just throw this in 20 contests and be good with it.
Well, and that could be it. Obviously, we don't know his finances. I mean, what guy? The word unconventional just kind of pops up. What guy plays 11 or 13 same lineups, even if they are good lineups? It's just unheard of. And he won all that money in the DraftKings Second Chance
We
for
should
week 2.
get him on Fantasy Insiders and write a strategy article for us.
Yeah. So he's definitely unconventional. He's like more hipster than you are.
Oh, he's way more hipster than I am. People just labeled me as a hipster just because they thought it was cool, but I'm really
Right.
not much of a hipster.
But we have talked about how when you have teams with good matchups, you take players from those teams,
Yeah.
like on FanDuel. So if you have 2 or 3 teams, you take players from those 2 or 3 teams, and you don't go individual players, whatever. That is kind of a strategy that you have.
Yeah, I mean, it's
So
much
I guess
easier to
he's
target teams.
yeah. So he's applying that same strategy to daily fantasy, or to head-to-heads rather.
Kinda.
He's not varying it up, but he's playing to whatever pitchers he wants, pretty much, and then he's stacking everybody on a team. And it's always a team that's got a good matchup for that night, of course. So,
Yeah, I guess.
should I take a 530 against him tonight and stack the? Let's see who is
To do a stack, we should do it. Could throw
Yeah.
some stacks against his stack.
against him, and it's just like stacks on stacks.
Stacks
racks on
on
racks.
stacks on stacks.
Loves Bases says take a 530 versus me. Yeah, I'm not going to be doing that, Loves. I want to stay out of that King of the Hill. What was the clip? Keep on wanting to use the word Bonnie. Borat.
Yeah, it looks like he's got two. Loves he finally got two games taken. It looks like.
Very nice. Borat, where he says King of the Mountain. Do you know
Beats
what I'm
me.
talking about? King of the Castle. That's what he says. King of the Castle. We have to get that clip because that feel like that was what's going on tonight or on FanDuel. I'm sorry. I've got this echo in my ear and I haven't been
No,
drinking.
it's really hard to broadcast with this echo. I'm not gonna lie.
Do you have an echo in your ear as well?
Oh yeah, I'm hearing myself like 5 times over, and I hear you like 5 times over. I
Yeah.
think that's contributing to the stuttering and the mispronunciations of many things tonight.
It's annoying, but the good thing is that the 7 people in the chat can at least hear what we're saying. And, maybe some people will download this just to see kind of the new toys. I mean, that's basically what we're doing right now is we're showing off the new toy a little bit. As far as the football stuff, I want to go back to the NFL this past week, talk about strategy. We've talked about baseball enough. Would you agree?
Yeah, screw baseball.
Yeah, screw baseball. It's pretty much in the last week anyways. You maybe get some of the DraftKings people, especially during the World Series stuff, since DraftKings is like the official fantasy spot for the World Series. So you might get some fish there that Inbox can take advantage of.
With the stacks.
But as far as FanDuel and most other sites, we talked about this before, the wide receiver is becoming more and more of someone that I'm looking to play in that flex position. Obviously, FanDuel doesn't have a flex position, But even on FanDuel, you want to make sure that you have some stud wide receivers. That those three are the ones that go off. Like it used to be where I would punt wide receiver. Now I'm thinking of punting the quarterback on FanDuel. You obviously had success with the Jake Locker play. He was so cheap. If they continue with this strategy, do you think this is going to continue where you want to play a quarterback that you know is going to get some points, hopefully, even in garbage time, and then really focus on your wide receivers?
Honestly, I think it's going to vary every week. And I think one of the roadblocks, misconceptions, I don't know, one of the
Fallacies?
fallacies is that there's a single strategy that's going to fit for the whole season. I think it's really a week by week thing. Is that I don't think it's fair to say it's good to punt a QB every week and spend on wide receivers, or flip flop that around and punt the wide receivers and spend on a quarterback. I really think it's just dependent on each week.
Yeah. I mean, I would agree with you, but there are certain strategies. Like if you're putting multiple entries in, there are certain strategies that you can try. I guess even for cash games, I'm looking at even going cheap on quarterback and making sure you get points out of your wide receiver.
I mean, there's going cheap on quarterback, and then there's going cheap on quarterback. You want to get someone that's going to be able to be somewhat consistent, that can get you points, and you want something guaranteed in that quarterback position.
Yeah.
And so I don't like speaking in generalizations. Do you have week 2 matchups up at all?
Like as far as
Bring up a football, an NFL thing on FanDuel, a contest, and tell me who you're saying would be a good cheap QB option this week.
all right, I'll tell you what I'll do. I will pull up the week 2 stats for quarterback.
Oh, we're going back to week 2 again?
You said week 2.
Or week 3?
You want me to go week 2 or week 3? I thought you were wanting me to go back into time.
No, I want you to go pull up an FanDuel salaries right now and tell me who you're going to go cheap at for quarterback.
For this upcoming week?
Yeah, for this upcoming week.
Okay. Un momento, por favor. I will pull up the FanDuel.
DP says Pryor. That's an obvious one.
Yeah, but I mean that depends on concussion test.
Yeah. I mean, are you going to run Flynn out there?
Maybe.
I think he's serviceable. He's 5,000. The thing is, wide receivers productions, you do have the stud wide receivers that are a little easier to predict. But overall, it's a lot tougher to predict a wide receiver's opportunity compared to a quarterback's opportunity. That's why the general train of thought is that you kind of spend on QB, especially on single QB sites, and not necessarily spend on wide receivers.
All right. So we're going to pull up the week 4 qualifier. These are the quarterbacks. You have Manning at the max, pretty much, of 9.9. You have Breeze and Vic and Ryan and Stafford, all those guys. Then you scroll down. You have Phillip Rivers against Dallas at 6.9. And then you have Locker at 6.7. His price has gone up considerably. Pryor against Washington, like DP was saying, it's a good matchup. And even if Pryor is not starting, it's going to be a good matchup.
But that's my point here. I mean, Pryor's maybe the only one that you feel comfortable to actually get you points. The other guys are going to be a little bit more of a gamble, in my opinion.
If Flynn starts, that's going to be sexy.
Yeah, prior to Floyd. I mean, I
He's
think either way.
5,000.
The thing is, though, how are you going to feel fading Peyton Manning on a single QB site?
Well, that's the thing is obviously Peyton is kind of as consistent as anybody right now this season. I mean, if you have Peyton, he's going to get you some points. I don't feel like we can say that out of everybody else at this point because everybody else has had bad games. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's fair to say. You can say that.
So,
I mean, the same holds true for wide receivers, though.
right. But on the average, if you look at the wide receivers, you want to, I mean, Calvin, he's done pretty good. And even those guys like Deshaun Jackson, the first few weeks, I think a lot of guys that people are high on have done well. The exception being the Giants last week, as far as wide receivers go. You had Cruz and Nix and Myers that everybody was high on because they were facing that Carolina secondary without 5 players or something like that. So everyone was ganging up on Eli and the Giants players, including myself. But I think after Eli's debacle, after Kaepernick's debacle the past 2 weeks, I mean, there are basically 2 ways to go, and that is go with Peyton, Breeze, or Rodgers, or go with one of these lower price quarterbacks. I mean, you take a look at some of even like Tannehill.
Is it Tannehill or Tanny?
I don't know why I said Tannehill. Tannehill. He's at 6,300 versus the Saints. So he's around the same price as Pryor. Ponder only 5.9. And I know that's a risk there, but I mean, a couple of touchdown passes, even Hoyer at 5.8. Henne, I'm staying away from Henne. But those other guys and below the 7,000 range, you even look at Flacco at 6.9, Rivers at 6.9. You know, I think you have some plays there that you don't have to spend for quarterback, and you can get Jimmy Graham or whoever, Jordan Cameron, one of those 2 tight ends that are getting the guaranteed targets, and that you can get some wide receivers that are going to be guaranteed targets, and then the running backs you just kind of fill in with whoever's left. The running backs are a dime a dozen this season. Running backs have had a terrible season so far. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, the running back is a position I'll agree with you on. It's kind of a look for the value, except maybe in extreme circumstances. But running back, I'll agree with you. I'm still not sold on your wide receiver quarterback strategy on a single QB site, even though I punted the quarterback last week with Jake.
Even though you crushed it with that same strategy last week.
It's just a lot more volatile, in my opinion. That sort of strategy is a lot more volatile. I can't talk because this echo is just absolutely destroying me right now.
Let's play a game.
But you're like, you're all about Calvin Johnson. Okay, he had 4 receptions, 37 yards week 1.
Right.
In general, wide receivers are so much harder to predict than quarterbacks. There's one thing you can do in fantasy football, and that's predict opportunity. You can't necessarily predict production. You know what sort of opportunity most wide receivers, or not wide receivers, what most running backs and quarterbacks are going to get. You can somewhat determine what the opportunity for wide receivers are going to get, but it's a lot harder. So in my opinion, you're looking for guys that are going to get you opportunity. And wide receivers is the toughest to figure out or predict what sort of opportunity they're going to get on a weekly basis, besides the top outliers.
Right. Well, you have guys like Eric Decker at 6.5 against the Eagles this week. That I think that I know he had a bad week 1. However, I just think the one thing about FanDuel is that there's no flexibility. There are 3 wide receivers. So if you can hit on those wide receivers, you're going to be good. Even if your quarterback has a so-so game, if you can get some good scores, 15 or more points out of your wide receivers, let's say 45 total points from your receivers, you're going to be in good shape compared with all these other guys.
I mean, I agree with that. But you're looking at guys this week with extremely potential upside at wide receiver as well, depending on how injuries pan out. I mean, we had Nate Burleson that got into a car accident, so Ryan Broyles is going to step up. And we saw what Antonio Brown did to the Chicago defense.
Right.
And so you're looking at Broyles for 5,000, depending on how Miles Austin shapes up or if he's playing this week. You're going to have Terrence Williams stepping into the number 2 wide receiver slot against the worst pass defense in the league right now, which is the Chargers. So you have 2 guys right there that you can play for 9,500.
2 other guys that look like big boomer bust type players. Kenny Britt at 4.7. I'm going to wait to see what happens like the rest of this week in practice, but one of the Titans beat reporters said that he wouldn't be surprised if Kenny brought it back on track this week.
That's pure I mean, that's what we thought last week.
Yeah, it's speculation, but you have to look at what they tried to do last week. They tried to go to him a lot last week. I mean, they started off by targeting him. It's just he's had like as many penalties as he's had catches. But he's 4.7 on FanDuel. That's like a major GPP play. On the opposite side of him is Stephen Hill at 5,000. He is the perfect picture of boomer bust. I don't even get that. I don't even get DP's comment.
I don't understand it.
Yeah.
Answer the question above it. Broyles or Blackman the rest of the season?
I'd go Blackman.
Do we know how long Burleson's supposed to be out?
No, but the fact that they're shopping for a number 2 wide receiver right now kind of scares me.
True.
And then Blackman's going to come in and take that number 1 spot. And even if he has Gabbert throwing to him, even if he has Henny throwing to him, they're still going to be throwing up basically jump balls in garbage time. Whereas with Broyles, you just don't know. He's a smaller type receiver coming off an injury. I think that the upside is definitely with Blackman.
I can see it. I mean, look what Cecil Shorts did in garbage time this last week.
Exactly. Nate Washington, another guy at 5.2.
So you're proving my point for me.
I'm talking about GPP plays. I'm not talking about cash plays. I'm talking about those guys are the volatile guys, in my opinion.
Do we want to debunk the myth that GPP has to be drastically different than your 50-50 or your heads-up lineup?
We can debunk it if you want
I don't have the data to debunk it at this point in time.
Well, then how are we going to debunk it?
We need the Team Packy on that.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is that you don't even know if it's supposed to be debunked. It could be proving the fact. You can't say how we're going to debunk this. You have to get the evidence first.
Oh, I will get the evidence to prove my point.
Well,
Even if it's just like a 1 tournament sample.
Yeah, you're taking like the top 3, the 3 qualifiers and picking the one that's like good plays.
Exactly.
Nothing out of the ordinary. Well, let's take a look at the $22. We can take a look and kind of dissect it.
Look at
the $10 FanDuel.
Well, but while you're bringing that up, I mean, last week, let me take a look here at my 420 on Draft Street. I went into that creating a lineup with Matt Forte. I thought was a good play. I wasn't, I'm not thinking of anything about being percentage owned or anything like that. And he was only 1% owned.
Right.
So, I mean, you can get your variety by not overthinking it.
All right. So to prove your point, here is the week 1 winner.
All right, let's see it. Dice 7117.
So he's got Breeze, Lynch, and Bell.
So this
All
is actually
those-
a week 3 winner, not a week 1 winner.
Yeah. You wanted a week 1 winner?
No, you said week 1.
Oh, well, blame it on the echo. Josh Gordon, who is getting back, he and Antonio Brown were the guys that are decent upside players, but not a whole lot owned. And you just stay with me, Dan.
I'm staying with you.
With me. Don't pay attention to Papa Cub. We have bigger fish to fry than Papa Cub. He's going to be here all year. So we have Antonio Brown and Josh Gordon. Josh Gordon, 2% owned. Antonio Brown, 0.7% owned.
Yeah, but then look into it a little further. So you're saying Josh Gordon's probably the riskier of the two plays there.
Yeah.
He's coming off of suspension. You don't really know what he's going to do with Brian Hoyer. So I mean, he's your one guy that you're making that lineup with, and you're saying, okay, this guy's a little risky, but I like his upside. Antonio Brown, you know he's going to get the targets. You just hope he produces with it. When you're constructing that lineup, you're not thinking, okay, this is a GPP lineup.
Right. I mean, I get your point. I think it's a little bit in the middle. Like, you didn't have a lot of people pumping up Antonio Brown last week, the so-called experts. I mean, you were on him, not on FanDuel, but on the other side.
Thank you. Thanks for bringing that up.
Didn't want to.
For those that didn't know, it was between Miles Austin and Seahawks defense or Antonio Brown and Vikings defense.
You
And
could have been Dice 7117.
No, I wouldn't have been high. I think I would
Um,
have scored like in the 150s.
Well, that's still would be nice. But to your point, I understand, because if you look at this lineup, no one in this lineup is as volatile as even Bell. I mean, a lot of people were on Bell because of his value, but no one is as volatile as like a Nate Washington or even a Stephen Hill or a Kenny Britt. Like, the most volatile player is Antonio Brown. And
Exactly, and he's the guy you know is going to get the targets.
And he had been complaining, right? But I mean, this was just a perfect lineup. I mean, the guy scored 177. So I think it might be. I see what you're saying, but also you have to look that he played the Vikings defense, and as awesome as you thought the Vikings defense might do against Cleveland, there's still the number one option was the Seahawks. I mean, everybody and their mom took the Seahawks.
Yep, even though they got outperformed by Vikings defense.
Well, I know. I mean, I'm talking about expectations. You're talking about, like, you're talking retroactive after you know the results. I'm talking about before you know the results.
Oh, I think it was clear cut either Seahawks or Vikings.
Yeah. So, I mean, I don't think, obviously, Dan Bailey, I think that was the real risk, the kicker.
Definitely.
All right.
There you have it. What separates the experts from the Joes.
Oh,
Picking those kickers.
So we're going to get off here, and
I'll probably hear an echo for the rest of the night.
Yes, I will too. In fact, I'm just now starting to get used to the echo, and it's when like we're like ending. So we're going to have to find out how to get rid of that echo faux show. Anyways, thanks for tuning in, everybody. This is Insiders TV. I am your host, Soaker Dave. Joining me, my co-host, Mr. Turtle.
Turtle.
Check it. Yo, we showing you the dopest. Inside the show, we know it's sick. The dopest site on the net. Yeah, this is it. Daily fantasy sports. sports just to make it short. Soaker Dave and Mr. Turtle 05, the co-host, that's right. Enjoy the show, the dopest. You already know, any questions in the chat box we will mention where it's real high. So if you want to go and get it on, log on to fantasyinsiders.com.
Later, everybody.